Good morning, Monday. Hope everyone's doing well. And here we have a wonderful blog post on Screen Rant about a Mr. Reese McKinley and his poor attempt at understanding how a character changes throughout a story, in this case of Star Wars, of Rey. If you thought Rey changed 10 times throughout the course of a story, I don't think you know what storytelling is or how it works. At best, you might get one change, you might get two changes, you might get some secondary cosmetic changes here and there, but that's not when we talk about change. When we talk about change, we talk about a character arc, where a character is forced to make a choice, which usually occurs at the climax of a story, for them to become a new character, for them to become a new person, for their outlook to change, their ideology, to cement what they already are, etc. There's a drastic change in their personality. And we could talk about flaws and weaknesses and shortcomings, all sorts of aspects of the plot and a character about that. But I'm not going to bore you with that because that's a much larger conversation. But suffice to say, this is not a change to Rey. Rey does not change throughout the entire sequel trilogy. There's very little about her that changes, and if it is a change, it's not a character change. It's more like, oh, she's talking to Poe now, or oh, she's deciding to do this now, as opposed to actually having real conflict which affects her as a person, and she's forced to make a life or death scenario about her as a character. But let's go through Mr. McGinley's 10 changes that Rey has gone through. Okay. So she leaves Jakku. That's not a change. That's called a scene transition. Okay. Now, you might say in episode 7, when she talks to Orange Head, whatever her name is, she says, hey, you know, your parents aren't coming back. It's like, all right, I guess I should stop moping around on a planet scavenging for stuff. That's not a change. It's not really, there's nothing really big about it. There's no major reveal. It's just someone saying, hey, Rey, you know your parents? Yeah, they're not going to come back for you, okay? And she goes, oh, all right. That's not a change. There's no conflict there. She might have been like, oh, I wanted my parents, but then this person's telling me they're not real or they're not coming. That could have been a big dramatic moment. That could have been a big issue where she's struggling with herself. What should I should do? Doesn't really happen. Doesn't really affect her that much. She just goes along with the story. New lightsaber. Getting a object could symbolize a change. That's true. But then you have to look at what the change is. And we don't understand what the scene actually represents to know that it was a character change. So if you see at the ending of the movie, she goes to Tatooine, and she strangely buries the two lightsabers of Luke and Leia. Why does she do that when Luke has just told us that this is a single symbol of the respect of the Jedi? Why would you bury these things? They're tools. They're useful. You could pass them on to other people. You can train other people now that you're a Jedi or whatever. Plus, this golden lightsaber, is it a staff? Is it part of her staff? I don't even know. It's just a thing. There's no backstory with that. There's no setup for it. It's there now. Where did she get the kyber crystal? Where did she learn to build this thing? Like all these questions pop up. So why is this a change? I don't know. How is this a change? I don't know. Just getting a new tool isn't a change to her character. It signifies a new beginning. Like, what are you talking? I don't know. Does it? Maybe she just likes the color gold. I don't know. We don't know what's going on here. Jedi training. Okay, so she's deciding to train herself. Here's a good question. Why? Why does she need training? Because we've already established she's amazing and can do anything within seconds, and now she has to train. I'm all for it, but tell me what for. All we see is that she can fly and she can't talk to dead Jedi. and she could levitate some rocks, but we already know she could do that. That's all. So she's not actually changing herself aside from learning a skill, but learning a skill is not character growth. That's like pumping iron. Oh, look, Rey is now exercising. That's great. She looks exactly the same. She doesn't look buff. She doesn't look like she's gone through hell. She looks exactly the same. There's no conflict here. You could argue training is physical conflict or physical training, yada yada, but there's nothing about her personality, about a flaw that has to be fixed, that forces her to be a different person. There's nothing there. This is no different than her back on Jakku, struggling to survive. Now she's struggling in another scenario, but there's no personal aspect causing a flaw. And the story never told us, why is she training? We just assumed that's what she would do, and JJ put it in there because people were complaining, but we don't know what the training does. It's like this general catch-all thing that JJ put in there. Oh, when did she train? She doesn't need to train. She's a god. What's the difference? What did training do suddenly? And even in episode 9, she's doing amazing things like healing dead people and creatures and just doing all kinds of crazy Jedi maneuvers that you're like, okay, well, this is nothing new. She's a god in general, so. Do gods need training? No, they don't. You see, that's the thing. When you have a perfect being, you can't have conflict. So it would have been nice if, the things she was trying to do, talk to the dead Jedi, and it was a result of her being a character, and she has to change to do so, and instead the Jedi talk to her, as opposed to the other way around. So that was actually a really bad setup. And Jedi training did not really help her as a character. And people thought it would, or whatever. It was necessary. It's like, it's too late. Pandora's box has already been opened. You can't reclose it and then try and fix it. Unless you know how to do that. But that's obviously did not happen in a J.J. Abrams script. Lives instead of dreams. That's not a change. Unless there's an actual thing of her deciding to get up off her ass or do something and there's a big inner struggle or turmoil. Never happens. All she does is get a crazy force vision from a sword, and I don't know what that does to her. We don't know. Starry-eyed young woman? No, she's not. How could you be starry-eyed when you're staying on a planet and every day is the same? I can't wait for tomorrow when my parents might come, so I'll stay on this planet and go scavenge for junk. Repeat, repeat, repeat. That's not starry-eyed. It doesn't bother her. She's used to that life. And then she meets Han Solo, and then blah, blah, blah. She doesn't even know what legends are. She doesn't know what any of these things until she meets Han Solo. So she realizes about the Force or these legends like a day, about the entire span of a day. Episode 7 to 8. Maybe 2 days. Found family. Okay. Interesting. This could actually could work because she now has people to talk to, and you can look at the relationship she has with people. That can cause changes for sure. We see that in all sorts of dramas, slice of life even, genres, or even in your life when you were growing up in high school, you were scared of talking to people, then you realize you have to interact with people. You are less scared of talking to people or public speaking. And we see that with Poe and her in episode 9. The problem is it's categorized as just them having a little scuffle. Like, oh, why is the Millennium Falcon on fire? Well, why is BB-8 on fire? What did you do? What did you do? And that's all it comes down to. They're just constantly bickering. It's not actual, oh, I got to learn how to deal with this person. It's just bickering. And by the end, they're all friends anyway. They all hug each other. So there's really no conflict aside from a little social bickering, which is natural, I guess. See, there's nothing wrong with natural changes, but it has to still have value. Like if she was a shut-in, if she was scared of people and she really had to try to come out of her shell, and there was a climax in the 7th or 8th movie where she learned to touch people and hug people or whatever, then great. That would have been good. People say, oh, well, she learned to love Kylo Ren. It's like, no, she didn't. She just did that because story. the only time she reached out to him and didn't consider him a psychopath was after she personally felt so alone because of her traumatic mirror vision, whatever that was on Octo, and she had no one else to reach out to at the time, and it happened to be Kylo Ren. That's about it. There's no other reason for that. So this does have some argument, but unfortunately there's no evidence to support a change that I can see. 5, she learns about her lineage. That does change her. She feels the most alone she's ever felt. It's a sad part. It's the lowest part of the story for her. She's like, oh, I don't know my place. I have nowhere to belong to, even though she actually does. And then she starts reaching out to a psychopath. So yeah, a choice was made. We just don't have any understanding of what the hell that means. How she got to that conclusion, why she's doing what she's doing. And then we have, well, if we're going to talk about Palpatine, we have a plot reveal with Palpatine. So I guess that's what this could have meant. But no, he's just talking about the Knights of Ren. I don't know what the hell. Rey's parents. Yeah, this is all about episode 2. Or sorry, episode 8. She chooses her fate. What does she choose? What the hell is this guy talking about? It does take some time for Rey to come to terms with who she was. No, it doesn't. But after defeating and destroying Palpatine, and after the deaths of Leia and Ben, she chooses her fate. What does she choose? Okay, calling yourself Steve or whatever. I am the best Steve ever. I am Steve McSteverson. Is meaningless. It doesn't say I am the emperor of the galaxy means nothing. Imagine she said that when that old woman talked to her, and she'd be like, "Oh, okay." You're like, "What? What does that mean?" I thought you just destroyed the First Order. Now you're the emperor? What? So saying you are this does not make it so. Going to Tatooine to bury some lightsabers and look into the sun. What did she choose? She could have called herself Mary. Hi, I'm Bob. Like, okay, what does that mean? You see, in order for these things to make any sense, you have to explain their meaning. If she just says words, that's not a change. What do the words mean? Calling herself Rey Skywalker doesn't mean anything. That could mean anything. She could run off and go murder people, like Anakin Skywalker. She can go off and not do anything, just like Luke Skywalker in the Return of the Jedi or the Last Jedi. So that's not a change. Saying words and calling yourself a name is not a change. Died with Kylo Ren. This is a plot reveal. It means nothing. The biggest highlight was the relationship. Yeah, but we don't know what it means. What does a dyad mean? You can't just say it's a change without explaining what the change is. And besides, it's a secondary character telling Rey, "Oh, by the way, you're a god, and there's two gods, and you're right there next to each other." And you're like, what does that mean? If the story doesn't tell or show us, we are lost. That's not a change. In order for a change to be believed, we have to go on a journey and see the struggles of this character, and then they realize, I got to change in order to help my friends or to help myself or to save the galaxy or whatever. Having the bad guy say you're a magical being doesn't change anything. When there's no connection between magical being and plot, and magical being and personality, like what you are a lollipop, Rey. Oh, okay. And then what? I can suck the life force out of you and get stronger. It's like, okay, so she's what? A life force giver? She can go around healing people now? Like, what does that mean? It doesn't mean anything. And it doesn't explain why she's a god. And Kylo Ren's not. Because if it was the case, then Kylo Ren should have been just as strong as her. So that doesn't make any sense. 2, changed her feelings of Kylo. No, she didn't. As we learned, the kiss was not romantic. And the only reason she didn't see him as a psychopath, actually she still does, because she wanted to speak to Ben, not Kylo, was because in episode 8, The Last Jedi, where she has that weird mirror vision. She feels so alone, and the only person at the time to reach out to is Kylo. That's it. And then she says, oh, I should probably go help Kylo. I've seen it in a vision. That becomes false. Or then gets later true in episode 9, I guess, if you want to go that far. But at most, Kylo is so chaotic and random, you don't know what he's going to do. Does he like her? Does he not like her? Does he want to kill her? Does he want to train her? Does he love her? Does he hate her? Does he bring her back to, like, all these random, like, you don't know what the hell's up with this dude. And Rey is just a poorly developed character, so we don't know what she wants. And the only thing I can make sense of is the story wanted her to do it. That's the best I can do. There's no other logic or reasoning behind it. So it's very hard to grasp at times what her feelings for Kylo are, what Kylo's feelings for her are, aside from, oh, she's dead now, I should revive her. Oh, he's dead now, I should revive him. And then I'll steal your ship and leave you stranded or whatever. I'll strand myself back on Octo. Found her place. This is pretty much the same argument for choosing her fate, I suppose. Did she find her place? At the end of the movie, we don't know. She sort of goes off by her own, buries some lightsabers, and says, I'm Rey Skywalker, looks at the sun, at the end. Did she start up a temple? Did she say what she's going to do? I'm going to go help people. I'm going to go kill people. I'm going to go to a lollipop factory. I don't know. What are you going to do, Rey? What's her place? I need someone to show me my place in all this, was a quote from, yes, The Last Jedi. In the end, Rey found her place. Where? What place? Tell us. McKinley, whatever your name was. She found her family. Some had gone, most remained. A lot of people died. She left Jakku, then went to Tatooine. So she's on from one desert planet to another. What's your point? She found out the truth about her parents in episode 8. So what's your point? She accepted her identity. Did she? Did she really give a crap that she was a Palpatine? I don't think so, because if she would have said, I'm Rey Palpatine. She grew and developed with each film. No, she didn't. Tell me where she grew and developed. Developed is a very strong word, sir. Growing implies development, but you have to connect the two. Where did she grow and develop? Rey ultimately found her place across the stars. No, she didn't. As a hero, I guess she was a hero. She defeated the bad guys, so yeah. A friend, yes, she was a friend. She had friends. A Jedi, was she a Jedi? I don't know. We assumed she was because they told us that, but we didn't know what made her a Jedi. We don't know what made Leia a Jedi, but apparently she's enough Jedi training to train Rey. Not that Rey needed training. And a Skywalker. Well, a Skywalker means many things, so we don't know exactly what that means in episode 9. And her calling herself a Skywalker makes no sense. So no, I don't know what you mean when she... Like, this is not a character change anyway. If Finn found his place as one of the Resistance members, I could see that. Because he's trying to find where he fits in. And that's his whole point. He wants to, figure out, because he's leaving the First Order to become something else. And he finds it with Rey, and he finds it with Poe and the Resistance. But where does Rey find her place? What does Rey do? What's she gonna? I have no idea what place she found. I really couldn't tell you. She was just given everything. Here's the Millennium Falcon. Is that her place? Here's the Jedi texts. Oh, she stole those, I guess. Is that her place? Oh, we don't know. So these are a bunch of nonsense by a fanboy who doesn't know what he's talking about. Probably hasn't read too many books or knows what books are. Doesn't know what the hero's journey is. Doesn't know what rising actions are. Doesn't know what climaxes are. Just a big pile of clickbait crap, essentially. But hey, if you guys think you know where Rey changed, please write it down in the comments, as I don't know. And past episode 9, I don't care to find out again, because it's such a bad experience I had. So, thanks for listening, people. Have yourself a great morning.